Thanks so much for tuning into this earnings conversation with Praj Industries. I know a lot of you are waiting for this. That number of messages I've received on Twitter is pretty interesting, and more so after what they've done in quarter three, wherein almost on all counts, the performance has been solid. I remember last couple of quarters, while sporadically there were line items which could have been a miss. This time around, revenues up 55%, EBITDA up 68%, margin expansion, net profit up 68%. Try as I may, I couldn't find a fault with the numbers, and which is great actually. But let me try and get in the CFO of the company, Sachin Raole, to talk about what went in the quarter and what is the outlook like for quarter four, arguably for the rest of the year as well. Sachin, great having you. Thanks for joining in. Hope all is well.
Thank you very much, Neeraj. Thank you.
So what went behind the quarter? Because it seemed a solid quarter, and I think all segments too individually have clocked in good growth. Tell us a bit about this.
I think our planning has worked out beautifully well in this quarter. And when I'm using the word planning, it is actually starting from business development till the execution. We had started a process called a continuous monitoring kind of a system for all the projects, the way in which we were executing. One portion we must have mentioned in the earlier calls also regarding the advanced procurement. So we actually planning in a very regular fashion on how the whole story should start falling in place. So let's take an example of business development. So what kind of activities or actions are required? What kind of a preparedness is required? How to capture the opportunity which is emerging in all the segments? Starting from that, going to the detailing of project execution. So what kind of a planning is required to execute a particular project? What kind of arrangements need to be made with the subcontractors for that matter? All I think those elements which we were working relentlessly for last 3-4 quarters has started falling in place. I think that's the result what we are seeing in the numbers for this quarter.
Most segments, bioenergy about 48%, engineering revenue of course, the base of engineering and high purity is not as much, but I look at the absolute percentage growth numbers for most segments, it's looked very, very solid. What has been, let me put it there, what has been the highlight in terms of a segment for you guys which did much better than what has happened in the first half, or something which leads itself to do very well in quarter four as well, based on what's happened in quarter three?
So again, I think to a great extent our planning has spread out very well. We decided that we need to have the element of other businesses also to come up in line with bioenergy. Let it not be very lopsided on only the bioenergy segment. That's one strategy which is now, I think, paying off. And this is not thought through in the last quarter or last quarter. It is going on for past 2.5 years. And here, let me take an example of our critical process and skills business, where we decided that no, we want to do in a very, very systematic manner, starting with very small orders for the identified few customers, establish our credentials with them, and then take it on a big way. I think that strategy has started paying off to some extent from this quarter onwards. I think the story for that business is going to get unfolded in a very different way going forward, only on the basis of what planning which we had started working on since last 2 years or 3 years. The ultimate thing which is coming up for that business is that we are going to put up a big manufacturing facility for catering to that kind of a business which is emerging out of that. Similarly, on the bioenergy side, if you look at, we were very watchful about what is happening in the 1G business, 1G domestic business for that matter. What are the growth segments which are coming up? How the starch is going to play its role? How the sugar is going to play its role? What kind of a combination we need to work upon? I think a lot of planning, and maybe from the analyst point of view or from the market point of view, it might not be coming up on a quarter basis, and it will never come on a quarter basis, because this is a very solid groundwork which you have to do today to cater to the requirement of or the need of next 2 years or 3 years kind of a scenario. I think that is how it is spreading out right now for us, business by business. And there are other businesses also like CBG or let's say wastewater. There is a huge learning which we are actually going through. It's a beautiful phase for us, little painful in some sense, but it is beautiful phase where we are learning a very different scenario And I'm sure the preparedness of ours of today is going to pay a very rich dividend going forward.
We'll come to the timelines for that in a moment. First, can I talk about what, therefore, this means for what could happen in, let's say, Q4? You sound fairly optimistic of how processes have led to such strong growth, and processes, therefore, don't die off in a hurry. They kind of give dividends quarter after quarter. Are we to expect that such growth will continue? The percentages may vary, but what I'm trying to get is the texture and the color of the growth and the nature of the growth. Do you reckon that that will continue in Q4?
I think I don't have any doubt about that regarding the texture and the color of it. I only don't know whether a quarter on a quarter you will keep on saying that, oh, there has to be X percentage of growth quarter on a quarter, because that's
Most
not
certainly
possible. We are not a sprinter. We are running a completely a marathon right now. It's a very long kind of an inning, and we want to play that long haul. Yes, quarter on a quarter story like can be considered as a milestones, but not necessarily to be the targets or the ultimate goal for us. Our ultimate goal and a target is going to be far more than the quarterly kind of a number. Just to answer your question on a Q4, as I said, I don't have any reason or a doubt that there can be something going wrong on the efforts which we have started, or rather we are putting up on the building up of this kind of an order book. Yes, external factors are in nobody's hands, but internally we have prepared ourselves very strongly.
No, order book I'll come to. I'm just talking about the segmental revenue items. You reckon that kind of growth will continue?
So segmental, it might change, and that's the reason I was talking about. That's what I was talking about, that why we have gone into a stage of adding new businesses, developing new businesses, not only remaining only on the bioenergy 1G segment. How to bring a common thread across these businesses through a concept of energy transition and a climate action. How the CPS business will also, the critical business also, critical equipment business also can contribute in this segment. So the story or a thread line is going to be very common, and the businesses will start getting built upon that. The components, the segments, what you use the word as a segment, or the word which I'm using as a component, those components may vary or components may change. But overall growth story, I think from the Praj point of view, is going to remain intact.
Okay. Fair call. Yeah. So the console revenue numbers could continue to look impressive, whichever segment contributes out there. Fair call. Now, the order inflow, two questions rolled into one. You now had consistently, excuse me for the tongue twister, consistently clocked in northwards of 950 odd crores order inflow or thereabouts for 3 quarters in a row. Do you expect that run rate to continue? And part two of my question is the skew between, or rather the split between international and domestic has moved quite a bit in favor of domestic. Now, is this because currently the nature of the world as it is, you are not consciously going after international, you're taking whatever is coming your way, and maybe domestic is stronger because India is growing fast?
Yeah. So between domestic and international business, domestic growth is disproportionate to the international growth at this point of time. I mean, that goes without saying, because the growth which has come up because of the advancement of ABP 20 program has naturally fueled the current situation. Otherwise, it could have happened over a period of next 7-8 years till 2030, but it completely got advanced. And that's the spurt which we are seeing in the domestic market at this point of time. Equivalent to domestic market, are there any growth vectors like there in the international market? There are right now not, or they were not there right now, but they will start coming up going forward. So if you look at my absolute growth in the international business, there is a growth in the international numbers. They are not coming down in any sense. They are going up. But in relation to domestic, naturally they are looking minuscule. But in absolute terms, international business is going up. Going forward, they are also going to contribute, because the shift which is happening in the energy transition worldwide, or the story which we were talking about on the low carbon ethanol, which is emerging right now, not only in US, we expect that the same story why it should not get emerged into Europe because of the energy crisis. I think these are the factors which will start contributing to our international business going forward. This is on the bioenergy side. If you look at critical equipment, my critical equipment is going to contribute more on the international side than on the domestic side. We have very minuscule number on the equipment or on the critical equipment in the domestic side. Maximum is on the international, and we believe that that business segment is going to go up. So naturally, international business will also start looking in a very different trajectory. It will take its own sweet time, but I think we are on the right path.
Okay, and all of this would happen with operational metrics which mirror what you've done in Q3. Can you improve upon it, or is it too volatile an environment right now? I mean, 9.5 is much better than what you've done in the previous quarter or what the corresponding quarter, but it's of course a much lower than the average numbers that you have shown us in the past. So how does that metric move?
Yeah, so the components of my revenue are not dramatically changing. They are still going to continue the way in which they have continued. So the component of bioenergy is going to remain the same. The engineering is going to remain the same. The international is going to remain the same. So the composition is not changing. It is more or less in the same kind of a range. Yes, some orders which we have picked up at the right margin, if they start giving me a revenue in that particular quarter, that particular quarter's margin starts looking very different. When you are comparing my margin, you have to also look at, people talk in two terms. One is in the terms of contribution, another one is in the terms of EBITDA. Contribution looks more, EBITDA looks lower than the contribution. I think we are targeting this kind of a range for some more time. Whether whether Q4 is also going to fall in that segment, it depends what kind of a order composition I'm executing in that quarter. So if it is going to be more completely very, what I can say, the old orders where the raw material prices were at a different level, if that component is coming up, margin may have its own impact. But I think we are in a very nice range at this point of time, where we will see this kind of margins are getting stabilized over a period of time.
So annualized, you reckon maybe about 9% or thereabouts is a possibility?
No, I don't think so, because first 2 quarters I was not having that kind of a high margin. So to have a 9% margin, then I would like to have a very different margin in Q4.
No, I mean FY24, because I heard you say that you want to maintain this over some time.
That's
so
right.
Annualized FY24, you could be around 9%, 8.5%, 9%.
Absolutely, it looks possible for us.
Okay. Now, the budget, right? A bunch of announcements out there. You already present in most of those areas, if not all. So the street is filled with a view that the budget has given a bit of a fillip to businesses at Praj. I was of the opinion that it's a continuation of something that you've already been doing. Now, tell us whether the budget does indeed increase the addressable market and accelerate the window of growth for you, or not really?
Great question. So let me tell you, the announcement from the finance minister related to CBG is shot in the arm from our point of view, because CBG business is there since last 3-4 years. Satat scheme is there since 2018, but it has not yet reached to its desired level. I think that got noticed, or that got identified from the government side, and they decided to give a specific push to CBG business. One push is definitely on the ethanol side. I mean, to the extent that today's the announcement is already made by Honorable Prime Minister about making EBP 20 gasoline or petrol available at few centers starting from 2023. So basically, we are talking about a target of 2025. Still getting advanced by so many years. So it is a great push from the government side on the ethanol. I think same push or same kind of a thrust is coming on the CBG side too, which is a very, very positive thing, because the ecosystem is still in a phase of its entire development. It is not completely developed. So all the announcements related to CBG, if you look at, be intention to incentivize for blending of CBG with CNG, or declaring some financial incentive for supply chain, or for the manure, because organic manure is going to be an important element out of CBG. I think all those points are very rightly touched. We are still waiting for the details to come out, how this is going to span out. But I think this is going to be a very, very right impetus from the CBG business point of view for us.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, Shishir had mentioned in the past that after one station opening up in Uttar Pradesh, Somehow there was a bit of a back foot. Now you're saying that it's a shot in the arm. Any guesses? I'll not hold you to it, Sachin, but any guesses about whether the orders, if you will, start flowing in from the first quarter of FY24, or are you not quite sure as yet?
No, so from the order booking point of view, Neeraj, we are definitely in discussion with multiple players. It is not that we are not discussing how they will get concluded, how they will get closed. It's too early for me to say so. Another thing which is coming up on CBG, and we were very vocal today in our calls also, that the understanding of feedstock from our point of view is also going up with the experience of two commercial plants which we have already set up. One plant on the agri-waste which is going to come up in March, April. I think it has given us a very, very rich experience. What need to be done, what else can be done, how to optimize the capex, how to optimize the opex, how to increase the yield for the plant, how to get different feedstocks together. Rather, we are making additional investment in the R&D to work on the CBG going forward. I think this is going to be very interesting piece, and we remain actually committed from the investment side for this business. But we'll have to see from the order booking how it is going to emerge. We never said that CBG is going to be a short-term game. We always said that CBG is going to be a medium to long-term kind of a game. And it suits us very well, because even if something goes wrong beyond EBP 20 from ethanol side, you have a huge fillip which can come up from the CBG side in that case, because investment which is envisaged is absolutely humongous.
Okay, well, let's see how it shapes up. It's one which has got a lot of promise, but it'll be lovely to see some very meaningful order, not just for you, but very meaningful order flow coming in, because it's great from a country's perspective as well. So I hope it happens sooner rather than later. I have one final question, if you don't mind, and that's on an MOU that you did with Accents. Now, you guys have been talking about the aviation fuel for a while now. Other players also have been speaking about it. This is an MOU, and therefore I know it could be some time away before material things happen. But tell us, where are we on this sustainable aviation fuel process, if you will, in India? By when does it become a meaningful part of any company's processes and orders, if I can use that term?
I think it's Praj hallmark to work ahead of a time, which is evidenced by our preparedness for 2G ethanol, for that matter. I think same thing is happening on the SF front. So today, technically, there is no blending mandate for SF in India. But we know world over what is happening. We know how the capacities are getting already booked by airlines for the production of SF, irrespective of prices, because the ecosystem in that region is developing in a very different way. For example, in between, if I'm not wrong, France Air has announced a differential pricing for using SF. So they charged $100 or whatever, some kind of a dollar per ticket when the SF is getting used in a plane. And that's what, for clean energy, you'll have to start paying some different pricing, which has not yet started happening in India. But we know 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line, we will see aviation sector is also getting developed in a very different way, and we may follow the path of Europe or US, the way in which they are trading at this point of time. So the capacities, for example, what our partner is talking about, Geo is talking about, of building over there, is huge capacities which will be coming up in the near future. Same thing is going to happen in India, and we don't want to be left out. We want to be well prepared for that kind of an opportunity. So this is a completely mid-term to long-term kind of a game which we want to play. We want to play an important role in this segment, and we want to be ready for this opportunity.
Got it. Well, some medium-term, some long-term, and some very near-term plans, all of them in play. We wish you all the best for executing all of these with aplomb. Sachin, thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us and giving us some sense of the nitty-gritties of the results and the outlook ahead. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much, Neeraj. Thank you.
And viewers, thanks for tuning into this conversation.
Thank you.